don't understand. I could have had class. I could have been a contender.
Hulk, go smash.
Mrs. Robinson, you're trying to seduce me.
Here's Johnny.
21 gigawatts!
Hey, motherfucker.
You never go ass to mouth.
Now what is so damn funny?
And here we go.
We will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight.
The Force will be with you. Always.
But the truth! You can't handle the truth! Showtime, everybody! Showtime!
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the For Real Movie Club. I am your host, Chris the Daceman Dace, and joining me this week on the For Real Movie Club, Mr. Sam Lassio.
How you doing, everybody?
Mr. Christopher Cheng.
Hello.
And I saved this name for last because I'll probably butcher it. Carolyn Oliveira.
Hi.
I butchered it, didn't I?
Well, the first name, it's Caroline, but it's okay. I mean, you did Oliveira really well.
I fucked up the easy one, Jesus.
Her name is Elizabeth Smith.
Elizabeth Smith. And hiding in the balconies, making fun of everybody, Tony Mango.
Hello. Balconies are pretty high up.
In the first video, we're going to talk about Candyman, which is a 1992 American horror film written and directed by Bernard Rose, based on the short story The Forbidden by Clive Barker. Though the film scenario is switched from England to the Cabrini Green public housing development on Chicago's near north side. So, bam. First initial thoughts. We'll start with you, Sam.
I thought it was a little weird that a graduate student is going for it's like, all right, I'm going to do research. I'm going to research urban legends. I feel like just right away that's like, what? Why? Like, I feel like that. Why does she need to be a graduate student? She could have just been like, I'm curious about urban legends. I'm going to go look into this. Didn't feel necessary to me. I thought it was very interesting. The whole, castrating motherfuckers. That was an interesting little tidbit. It was okay. I've seen better slasher movies. I've seen better horror movies. But it wasn't a bad movie. I liked it. It was alright.
Chris, what were your first thoughts on the movie Candyman?
I just thought this housing development needs to burn down and start anew. It's just awful, this community, where there's a known killer who just castrated a child and no one gives a shit. This community is just yeah, that just happened. Anyway, yeah. Hey, white woman, they harass her a lot during this movie. And it's I get there's supposed to be a lot of messages about hey, slavery was bad, and this is an urban myth of the inner city, but it still is not a good thing. There's imitator Candymen. That was a weird thing. There's a cult of them. Yeah, and that was the part where I was laughing, because it's this isn't a real thing. This was definitely Clive Barker's idea of what black horror is. It's just this Candyman is they're Freddy Krueger. So I liked it because it's something that is a different type of monster, and it's unique. It's
I've become the monster.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds horrifying.
Caroline, what was your first thoughts of the movie?
Well, I absolutely love this movie. There's just so many things I love about it. And the first thing I want to say is that Cabrini Green was actually a real place in Chicago. And the fact that the movie was shot there, and actually the scene that Helen and her friend get to Cabrini Green, and we see those gang members, those are actually gang members that the crew decided to ask to participate in the movie because they were really scared that something bad was going to happen to them there. And that's kind of how they were able to shoot there, because they invited the gangs themselves to participate. And the story itself, it's based, yes, on Clive Barker's story, but the whole thing, Cabrini Green, that it actually happened was that it was a very violent place, and it was ran by gangs and drug lords. It was located in the area of Chicago where the police really, I don't want to say didn't care, but they didn't really do anything. and every now and then they would go and do like a sweep. And the way that the gang members would hide from them was that they created tunnels inside the building itself, and some of the tunnels you would only access through someone else's like medicine cabinet. It would be like a hole there, and they would hide in those tunnels and sometimes go into other people's apartments, and if they screamed or tried to fight, they would kill them. And that's like how like Candyman came about. And then after the movie was released, Cabrini Green was actually destroyed because everybody got really upset on how bad things were there. But anyways, I love the movie. I love Tony Todd so much and his beautiful voice. I think it's hilarious that Helen was a graduate student, especially that she's married to a professor. Like, no professor would marry a graduate student nowadays.
I'm gonna be a graduate student next month, so like, does this mean
Are you planning to marry your teacher?
Hey man, I'll do whatever for an A.
Well, good luck with that. I just really like it. I think that, I love urban horror movies. I actually cried the first time I watched, not because I was scared, but just because I felt so bad for Candyman. I was like, oh, he's such a tragic monster. He's just like so misunderstood.
What do you think of suburban horror movies, though?
Those freak me out more than urban ones.
So you're a fan of Leprechaun in the Hood?
Those rural ones, you know.
Yeah. But yeah, I really, really love this movie, and I could go on and on about it, but I'm gonna shut up now. I'm sorry.
This is your chance to talk. I don't know what's going
on.
Defeating.
What?
You're so self-defeating. Like, I was talking when it was my turn. I'm sorry.
Well, I don't want to be blabbing away, and people are like, oh my god, somebody killed that bitch, you know?
Is that a quote from Candyman?
Probably.
That's actually one of the nicer
Candyman,
comments.
Bitch.
That's one of those nicer comments that I get on my podcast. So somebody kill that fucker. So the cast consisted of Virginia Madsen playing Helen Lyle, Tony Todd as Candyman, Xander Berkeley as Trevor Lyle. See, this is my favorite part because I try to go down the list of names, and when I can't pronounce them anymore, I just stop.
Right, no.
Vanessa Williams as Anne Marie McCoy, and this is where I stop. We're going to start with you, Chris. What were your thoughts on the casting for the movie Candyman?
Like, the cast is good. It's just, like, their titles don't make any sense, because, like, Anne Marie being a grad student, like, she's the oldest grad student I've ever seen, because she's basically, like, 30, and, like, is living with her husband, Professor, with Xander Berkeley.
Oh,
Xander
that's
Berkeley...
Helen. That's Helen.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, like, yeah, you're right, sorry. And then, like, Xander Berkeley, like, he's just that guy of the 90s where, yeah, he's in it, but he, like, disappears from the movie sometimes. Vanessa Williams, like, when you are introduced to Anne Marie, she's kind of like this tragic single parent who's like, yeah, I live in the ghetto and, like, had this baby, and...
No,
like,
wait, what? Oh, never mind. Oh, sorry. Yes.
It's all right. Just saying, just meeting the characters and how they're kind of, like, portrayed. And
yeah. No, sorry, yeah. I misheard you. Sorry.
That's fine. But, like, the characters are fine. Like, totally, like, they all look appropriate for the time and setting. But it's just kind of hilarious because it's like, oh, wait, so they're supposed to be, like, a student, a professor, a single, like, a mother raising her baby in the ghetto. And then, so again, the movie's all about Tony Todd, but he's not in it a lot. Like, he mostly pops up, or, like, he's a painting half the time. So it's not like he's walking around and has a lot of dialogue.
Caroline, what were your thoughts on the casting?
I like it. I love Tony Todd. I think that, yes, he doesn't speak much, but I love that his voice is so powerful that whenever he does, it feels like he is someone that is not, like, he's no longer in this world. You know what I mean? Like, he's a supernatural entity. I'm fine with Helen. She has, like, a boob scene, so that's okay. She looks good in it.
That was the best part of the movie.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys appreciate that.
That was the candy.
That was the man.
Bowing out again.
Yeah, I mean, I have no complaints about it, but I'm biased, so.
Sam, what were your thoughts on the casting?
Whatever. It was a 90s movie, and you could tell it was a 90s movie. The acting wasn't terrible, but it wasn't, like, stellar. The only thing about the cast that I noticed is that I spotted Ted Raimi in it.
Oh, yeah. He's Billy. He's just kind of there.
Yeah. I was just like, yeah, I like him. He was good in Spider-Man.
As an interesting note, that at least the Wikipedia tells me, Eddie Murphy was the original choice for the Candyman role, but the filmmakers couldn't afford him. Would that have made a difference if Eddie Murphy played the Tony Todd character?
Thank God it wasn't him. I
Probably.
don't like this movie that much.
Probably would have been funnier.
Yeah.
But like Candyman is not supposed to be like this punny kind of villain. Like he like Tony Todd was perfect for this. So
Yeah,
it's really hard to imagine like this laughing like Eddie Murphy guy showing up and like stabbing people.
Yeah, with a name like Candyman, though, you could have redone the script of this movie with Eddie Murphy, and you could have turned it more into an Evil Dead.
Oh yeah, that I could see. That and then yes.
This kind of makes sense, though. Maybe that outfit that he used to wear, that like pleathery, multicolor, not multicolored, but that outfit, maybe that's made out of fruit roll-up.
I think you're just really craving some candy, Tony.
I totally would.
Eat a fruit roll-up.
That's right.
Would you castrate children for a fruit roll?
It's not a Klondike bar, but...
That's exactly what I was thinking. What would you do for a Klondike bar? You know, cut off children's penises. Anywho, some facts about the movie. It was directed by Bernard Rose, produced by Clive Barker and Steve Gollan. It was based on, again, The Forbidden by Clive Barker. We talked about the cast. The music was by Philip Glass.
Yes.
You want to talk about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just have like a fun little trivia. Philip Glass was really against putting his music in any horror movie. But the director was like, oh my God, I would die if Philip Glass could do the music. And one of the producers knew him. He's like, oh, let me ask him. And the producer said, well, we have this movie. But he told the story of the movie as if it was like a drama. And then only once Philip Glass said, yes, I'll do it, and he started working on it, the producer was like, yeah, actually it's a horror movie. So for a while, Philip Glass was kind of annoyed that his music was going to be in this movie, but then he agreed with it, and it's like one of my favorite parts of the movie. I just love that music so much. It's just so beautiful.
So they lied to him in order to get the music in the movie?
Kinda, yeah.
It's like it's a porno called Candyman.
Yeah, it's very dramatic. It's about how slavery is still impacting society this day. It's actually about a guy who lives in a mirror and kills people.
And cuts off children's penises.
Yeah.
And I feel like Bloody Mary would be better. Like, at least you only had to say her name 3 times.
Yeah, this is exhausting.
Yeah, it's like by the 4th time, I'm like, oh, fuck it, I'm done.
Tongue gets tied, you say the wrong name, and then you gotta start all over again. Pain in the ass. The cinematography was done by Anthony B. Richmond, edited by Dan Ray, and distributed by TriStar Pictures. And the release date was September 11th, 1992, at the Toronto Film Festival, playing as part of its Midnight Madness lineup. It was officially released on October 16th, 92, in the U.S., where it made $25.7 million on what is assumed to be an $8 million budget. The runtime is 99 minutes. Now we're going to roll into, and we'll start with you, Caroline. Final thoughts and favorite moment, like high point, low point, and a ranking 1 to 10.
Okay, well, like I said, I'm really biased, and I really love this movie for so many reasons, so I'm going to give it a 10. I think that my favorite scene in the movie... Well, one, I love when she finally kills her ex-husband, because I hate that piece of shit so much. I just love the fire scene as well. It's so pretty. And when Candyman kills the psychiatrist, because I also, like, fuck psychiatrists. Like, I just want him dead. Low points. I don't know. Maybe we could use a little bit of more Tony Todd in it. But even though, like, I feel like that would possibly make Candyman less mysterious. I don't know, I just really love this movie, you guys. Sorry, I'm fangirling over it.
It's totally okay. So it's better than, like, just basing the movie off of a haircut, if you listen to last month's For Real Movie Club.
Yeah, to be fair, though, Tom Cruise.
Oh, sexy motherfucker. Mission Impossible 2.
Oh my god, yeah.
Sam, what were your final thoughts, high point, low point, and ranking 1 to 10?
Final thoughts. I mean, it was serviceable. I didn't dislike it. I won't like praise the movie, but if anyone's like, oh, I've seen like all the latest horror movies, I've seen all the classic horror movies, name me a movie that I should watch tonight just to shovel popcorn in my mouth. Candyman, why not? Decent horror for a horror movie. Scares are okay. Low point in the movie's gotta be that fucking, like, when she goes into the bathroom and, like, the dude jumps out and tries to kill her. It's like, you're trying to, like, earn a reputation by pretending to be Candyman? Like, how would I want to, like, get a reputation in Camden and, like, up my street cred by saying I'm the Jersey Devil? Like, that kind of ups the Jersey Devil's street cred, not mine. Like, nobody knows, like, it was the dude who did it, kind of a thing. You know
Sam, if this community knew better, it wouldn't have this problem in the first place.
True. The high point for me, though, like Caroline said, I did like the end where she killed Trevor, and it was basically like, all right, Stacy, fuck you. Like, now you just gotta look at that. And then, like, she's, like, in the painting now, and it's like, oh, I'm Candy Woman.
Oh.
Like, all right, that was my probably favorite part, just because it fucked them up.
And you're ranking 1 to 10?
Ranking 1 to 10, I'll just give it a solid 5. I liked it.
A solid 5. That's an average. Like, meh.
Yeah.
That's hurtful. Chris, what was your final thoughts, high point, low point, and ranking 1 to 10?
I like Candyman just for, like, it adds, like, a new kind. At the time, it added a new kind of monster to, like, you know, the lore of a monster that kind of show up if you say things into a mirror. There's not many, a lot of them. Well, it's like Bloody Mary, and that's it. So the fact that, you know, Candyman can join that lore. Like, it didn't come from a swamp. It didn't come from Alien. It was just like, oh, they did some really fucked up shit to this black guy back, like, 300 years ago. Maybe 200 years ago, something like that. Anyway, like, it's just really messed up how, like, his origin is that, and then it's like, oh, okay, instead of being vengeful towards, like, a certain type of people, Candyman would just show up if you call his name out 5 times. And, like, as for me, like, when you first meet Candyman, like, in person, and he kind of, like, yells at Helen in the parking lot, because he just kind of shows up and wearing his jacket from a distance, like, and he kind of says it, like, hey, what's up? I'll see you later. It's always you. That was kind of like, oh, that's kind of creepy.
Because if you're a woman, the one thing that you always get, I mean, at least I got from my parents was, if you park your car in a garage, make sure you're not going to get your car by yourself. Like, have somebody with you. So, like, that to me was, like, freaky. Can you imagine, like, going to get your car and all of a sudden there's, like, this big dude calling your name? It's like, no, let me go away.
Yeah, it's 92. Like, it's still pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
And then it's still, like, the rough area. But it's just, like, she's so vulnerable. But it's, like, all he does is kind of show up and just, like, yells at her and leaves. And he didn't even show up through, like, a mirror or anything.
Like, hypnotized or something, and then she
gets, like, weird headaches and visions. But, I mean, again, that's creepy because it's going to foreshadow it. It's trying to establish the Candyman character. But I don't know, the rules kind of break itself by the end of the movie and then the sequels. But the low point for me was when she just wakes up in Anne Marie's house and it's, like, covered in blood. And, like, instead of, like, helping her, everyone's just angry at her.
Yeah.
You know, just like, oh, this black baby's missing.
That's a good point.
you did it. And just like, what? Like, why don't you test this blood for evidence? Like, forensic evidence wasn't a thing, apparently, in 92.
Yeah.
They're just like, you did it. You go to jail now. Like, so that was kind of the low point. Because up until this point, it's been pretty serious. And then it gets comical, like horror, where she just wakes up covered in blood inside this apartment. This friend that she made is now, like, betrayed her. And like, oh, where's my baby? And I don't know. That was kind of low for me.
Yeah, okay, so now I do have a low point. It's when we see the decapitated dog. I can still see that shot.
Ah, the Rottweiler.
Yeah, I have to close my eyes. I get so upset over that shot.
Ah, you pussy.
I am.
Wow, that was harsh. Chris, what was your rating 1 to 10?
It's like 7. It's definitely for me, like, I grew up with this, so it's just a memory for me, so I'm a little biased towards that. And again, like, I just like that it's a different kind of monster. It's not like, yeah, he's a stalker kind of horror figure, but like, he's charming, like he shows up and he's like, hey, I've got vengeance. And he's, he's angry for a reason. Like, he's a tragic thing, but then he gets like out of control. So I don't know, like, it's definitely not like it's gonna be hard to argue, like, if he's a classic horror figure now, he's like a modern horror figure. I don't know, but again, it's a like Sam said, it's a great popcorn horror movie. You don't need to follow it all the way. It's simple to understand.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it, folks. There's our first movie in the books, Candyman. Now we're going to stroll up memory lane once again for a childhood hit, and we're going to slam and welcome to the jam as we do Space Jam in the next video. So click the link, do whatever you have to do on YouTube. I don't know. Maybe it'll just start playing. I don't care. Stick around. Space Jam is next. Welcome back to the second part of the For Real Movie Club for the month of August, which is a grab bag of all the staff picks. And we're going to be doing Space Jam next. And everybody's time to get up. And it's time to slam now with the greatest soundtrack on the planet. Space Jam is a 1996 American comedy film starring basketball legend Michael Jordan and featuring the Looney Tune cartoon characters. The film was produced by Ivan Reitman and directed by Joe... And with Tony... Fuck names. I'm done with names. It was released theatrically by the Warner Brothers under the Family Entertainment label on November 15th, 1996. And it's, again, stars the Looney Tunes. They gotta face the Monstars in order to save their cartoon asses. Chris Cheng, we'll start with you. What were your thoughts on Space Jam?
Oh my god. This Space Jam is the culmination of like the mid-90s where Michael Jordan is the hottest superstar for two sports, for at least a sport and a half, because he retired from baseball to do basketball to do baseball, and I guess this is his comeback. It was his comeback like move, and right after that year he did Space Jam, so it was like this exciting like roller coaster of watching him rise and fall and rise again. And Looney Tunes, I guess, like it didn't have a big following, so during that year it decided to have like this increase. And it's like, what better to reboot a whole franchise by introducing like Michael Jordan with like Looney Tune characters? Again, on paper it sounds insane, but it worked in '96 because like people thought like, yeah, people love Michael Jordan, people like basketball, and people kind of like Looney Tunes on like graffiti art. Let's like mix that all together.
Sam, what were your initial thoughts on Space Jam?
This was the first time in my childhood that I was legitimately attracted to a cartoon character in Lola Bunny.
Breakthrough!
I was so expecting you to say Elmer Fudd.
It was great this is the movie that introduced Lola Bunny. She's been in other Looney Tunes things since then. Yeah, I mean, I've never been big into sports, but I mean, even I know who the fuck Michael Jordan is. So, like, seeing this movie, like, increased his popularity if it wasn't popular enough already. Got him into a whole new generation of people like myself who didn't watch sports to actually appreciate what he did. I don't know, man. Like, sometimes I can't even tell, like, even rewatching it, I can't tell if I love this movie because it's a good movie, or if it's because as a child I love this movie and it has like the nostalgia effect. I really can't tell because some of the jokes are so bad, but I still even now will laugh at them. Like, I mean, like how they got like the Monstar name. Wasn't it Sylvester who named them?
Yeah.
Like one's like, oh, they're monsters. It's like, oh, they're stars, and it's like, they're monstars, and it's like, oh god, like you had to do that. And then like I don't even remember what the fucking guy's name is because I only ever know him as Newman. But like,
Wayne Knight.
Yeah, he's just, oh god, like his jokes are bad too, and I still laugh at them. And like when the basketball players, when the basketball players like lose their powers and they're like somehow you can just take away talent, like that's just a thing, and they like all start like freaking out.
Yeah, they had the identity crisis.
Yeah, but I love my mama.
Caroline, what were your initial thoughts on Space Jam?
I mean, I agree with Sam that I don't know. I mean, I think like it's still a good movie, still holds up. I feel like if I ever have children, I'm definitely gonna make them watch it. I remember watching it in the theater. I thought it was great. Like I had the little toys for Lola and Taz because Taz is like my homeboy. It's a fun movie. Like I feel like, and also like I'm always gonna be impressed with movies like Space Jam and Who Framed Roger Rabbit, where they're able to do the animation and have live action. And I'm sure the people that do animation are like, oh my god, there's so many mistakes, but I like it a lot, and I feel like it's still a really good movie, and it's just fun when you grow up and you see these characters in very old cartoons, and all of a sudden they're like super fresh, they're playing basketball, and Michael Jordan's there. It's good, and Bill Murray is in it, so that's also a plus.
Speaking of casting, it stars Michael Jordan in the lead role as himself, who starts off playing basketball or baseball and then ends up playing basketball again for the Looney Tunes. Wayne Knight, known as Newman to most, but also that asshole from Jurassic Park that started the terror.
Yeah.
You didn't say the magic word. Bill Murray, and then a list of legendary basketball players such as Larry Bird, Charles Barkley, Patrick Ewing, Larry Johnson, Muggsy Bogues, and Sean Bradley. I should know that one since he was a 76er, but fuck it. The voice cast also had legend Billy West as Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd, Danny DeVito as Mr. Swackhammer, the evil boss that's trying to acquire these Looney Tunes, amongst other people who do a lot of Looney Tunes voice. When it comes to casting, it's a little hard to talk about because really two people are not playing themselves. Wayne Knight and Bill Murray. Well, no, Bill Murray was still playing Bill Murray. So Wayne Knight was really the only actor in this. So what I want to talk about in this segment of For Real Movie Club is the music, because the music is awesome. It's just, the soundtrack's great. The soundtrack sold enough albums to be certified as 6 times platinum.
Wow.
It also served as a high point for the musical artist R. Kelly, whose song I Believe I Can Fly not only was a hit, but earned him 2 Grammy Awards. Other tracks included Steve Miller Band Fly Like an Eagle by Seal, and Hit 'Em High, the Monstars anthem, which was Busta Rhymes, Coolio, LL Cool J, Method Man, and some dude named B Real. So, 1 out of 5 made it.
Basketball Jones,
which is a great song, was by Chris Rock and Barry White. Hell,
it's a fucking racist song, but still.
And For You I Will by Monica. Sam, we'll start with you. How many copies of this album did you buy?
0, because I was like 6 when this movie
Moving on. Chris.
Yeah, I bought one. I have 1 copy. And a basketball with Space Jam logo on it.
And Caroline, how many copies did you buy?
I actually had 2. One that stayed in my dad's car all the time, and one that I had at home.
For a second, I thought you said one that stayed in my dead car.
Oh, that too.
Okay.
So 3. Sam, back to you. What did you think of the soundtrack as a whole?
Oh my god, like, some of these songs are just completely classic to me. I still contend, even though I love Basketball Jones, it's such a goddamn racist song. Only because I remember the song from Cheech and Chong. But, oh man, like, I Believe I Can Fly was like, I think we graduated to that song when I was in 6th grade. Like, I think, like, they had the 6th grade class, like, sing that song.
I'm so glad that you would have graduated to that instead of Basketball Jones.
I kind of wish I had graduated to Basketball Jones.
But yeah, like, other songs like Space Jam by Quad City DJs.
Come on and slam, and welcome to the jam.
Bugs Bunny rapping to the song Buggin'. Phenomenal. That's the way I like it. All these things. Oh, this is such a good soundtrack.
Oh yeah, I think it's right up there with like favorite soundtracks from like Guardians of the Galaxy. like just as collections of songs that you just love to listen to.
Chris, what was your overall impression of the soundtrack?
It definitely played to like youngster like hip hop and rap because it tried to be like that for the Monstars, the Hit 'Em High song. Because
Yeah, it did.
that like I never knew like Busta Rhymes, LL Cool J, Method Man, and whoever Be Real was like. They're not kid friendly, but for one glorious song, they all came together to sing about like fake Looney Tunes.
He's like the Eazy-E of that like list. Like everyone knows Dr. Dre and they know Ice Cube, but then Eazy-E, like who?
Oh yeah, they're like, oh, who's that other guy in like Straight Outta Compton?
You gotta watch the director's cut to get where Method Man and all them go crazy with that song.
Yeah, I bet there's like a B side of this song that's full of curse words, and I'm on the hunt for that.
And N words.
Caroline, what was your initial thought of the entire album?
I love it. I mean, I was rewatching this movie while I was working out, and that got me so pumped. It was so good, and I mean, I hate R. Kelly, but that song, I Believe I Can Fly, oh my god. Like, I remember crying over that song. Like, yes, me too! Let me fly! It's such a great album.
I wouldn't go that far.
Okay, you wouldn't, but that's my opinion, so shh.
Yeah, you stay over there with your N-words.
And my basketball Jones.
And your basketball Jones. Some facts about Space Jam. It was produced by Ivan, last name can't really say, but Reitman. Joe Medjuk? What? Joe Smith. Daniel Goldberg.
Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, I know, right? The music was by James Newton Howard. Who cares about that when you get a soundtrack that was amazing? Cinematography was by Michael Chapman, edited by Sheldon Kahn, and released November 15th, 1996, with a runtime of 87 minutes. The budget was $80 million, and it box officed $230.4 million. Caroline, we'll start with you. What is your final thoughts, high point, low point, and ranking 1 to 10?
Okay. High point, I just love the Monstars, especially when they're not talented. They're so cute. It's a great story. Like, it's not perfect. Yes, and it's super cheesy sometimes. But only like growing up, I always loved horror movies. So only a few non-horror movies really stayed with me, and that was like definitely one that I watched and rewatched and had the VHS of. My lowest point, I think, Michael Jordan's acting. I mean, it's interesting. He's very he's a really great basketball player. Music amazing, fun movie, and the police is outside. Sorry guys.
They're trying to arrest you for saying that he's a bad actor, that you didn't believe that he was a basketball player.
Yeah.
Just sing Basketball Jones to them.
Yeah, and I think I'll give it an A just because, I mean, it's such a big part of my childhood.
Chris, what were your final thoughts, high point, low point, and ranking 1 to 10?
I think like Space Jam again is a movie that on paper sounded insane, and it was such a big gamble that it would work because it appealed to so many like different people, like sports fans, families, kids, and now like nostalgia for us.
Yeah.
So like it hit all the marks well. It definitely like brought life back into Looney Tunes, but then like I remember I thought it'd be like this hard aggressive reboot, but then it didn't. Like I thought there'd be more like, hey, we'll do like other kind of like we're bringing Looney Tunes back into like movie theaters again. It's like no, they stopped.
And then they did that other shitty live action one
that no one talks about. Like just
wait, which one? I didn't know.
Back in Action.
The one with the dude from like
Brendan Fraser.
Yeah,
Brendan Fraser was in it, and so it was like Steve Martin. It was almost like Space Jam, but no one was doing any sports, and like again, like you couldn't do that again. Like like sport basketball movies with Looney Tunes was like the perfect formula. Mm-hmm. We don't know why. No one knows. Low point though for me was when like Charles Barkley is getting getting yelled at by kids. where
yeah.
he like doesn't know to play basketball.
Be
But
gone, wannabe, be gone.
Yeah, but like it's not like he like lost his money or anything. He was still like rich back then, but he's just wandering the streets, like just lost. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is weird.
Well, no, I got it. Like they thought that he was.
They
like,
thought he was a
pretending-
lookalike, right?
Yeah, they thought he was pretending to be Charles Barkley because he sucked at basketball.
But like
So they
you can't. Yeah, but you can't fake his height. Like that's pretty hard to fake. Like
what? Like you can if you're an impersonator and you're the same height as him.
I know, but I mean, like that's dead accuracy impersonating, where it's like he didn't look any different than he was when he took off his jersey. Like it looks the same. But like these little kids are just like yelling at him, like, "Oh, you're fake! Get out of here!" And he like takes it to heart. I was like, "Whoa, Charles, don't you have like? I don't think you just do this. I don't think you just challenge kids to a game of pickup. Whatever."
I mean, if I saw somebody that looked like Danny DeVito, you can't fake his height, and like tried to like be like, "Oh yeah," and he tried to like act out something and sucked at it, I'd be like, "Well, then you're not Danny DeVito if you can't even like do your fucking job like what you do."
That's true. All I'm saying is, like, yeah, he missed, like, one free throw, and they're all, like, yeah, yelling at him.
Yeah. Well,
They were very aggressive.
They were very aggressive street girls.
What would have been great is if he would have come back after he figured out, like,
Yeah, he got his
how to
powers
be
back.
good again.
Yeah.
And he would have just beat the shit out of them. You kids would have laughed at me.
Yeah, like, I want to see that part where they all come back and, like, get their powers and their life goes back to normal. I guess the high point for me was, like, when I'm not, yeah, like it's typically everyone's, but when like Jordan gives the inspirational talk and Bugs gives him the fake water, like the Mike Stuff water. Everybody remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like that was cool because it's like, oh, it's always been inside you all along. But again, it's like that's a bunch of bullshit. Because then like Jordan kind of then becomes a Looney Tune at the end, where he like grows his body.
Mm-hmm.
Which they just like forget, like they just totally disregard that after he does that. Like,
I mean, he was in a cartoon world. I could forgive that.
Yeah, but I'm just like, whoa, like that would have been useful, like in the beginning, to know that you could like tap into cartoon power,
like Mr. Fantastic yourself.
Yeah, like so.
Still a better Fantastic Four movie than Fantastic.
Sam, what were your final thoughts? High point, low point, and ranking 1 to 10.
Final thoughts, whether it's nostalgia or not. I love this movie. I've loved it since I was a kid. It can be on now, and I'm still going to watch it and love it. It made me love Looney Tunes even more than I already did as a kid. High point of the film has just got to be the basketball game. Like, the whole game, like, I just loved that scene so much.
Basketball game.
Basketball game. The low point of the movie, though, it was bad even when I was a kid. Like, you have to remember, Jurassic Park was 3 years ago to this movie. When they smush Michael Jordan up into the basketball, that CGI was terrible. It was so bad. And, like, his voice went high-pitched for some reason.
I was just gonna ask that, if anybody noticed that. I was like, wait, is that his, like, real voice? Couldn't be, right?
And then they're like, it was, like, 3 years before that, they made me believe that dinosaurs were real. Like, alive again. And now, like, you can't even, like, smush up a dude. Like, I don't know. It was just so bad. Oh my god. And then I'd give this movie an 8.5 out of 10.
Well, there you have it, folks. Space Jam is in the books. Time to move on to part 3 here at the For Real Movie Club, where we will discuss another half-breed movie with half live action, half cartoons in the movie Cool World. So sit down, hunker, do whatever you gotta do. I'm not gonna make up words. Click the next link and check out part 3 of the For Real Movie Club. Welcome back to part 3 of the For Real Movie Club, where we'll be discussing Cool World, which is a 1992 American live-action animated fantasy film directed by Ralph Bakshi. And is starring Kim Basinger, Gabriel Byrne, and Brad Pitt. Yeah, I said Brad Pitt. Yeah. It tells the story of a cartoonist who finds himself in the animated world he thinks he created and is seduced by one of his characters, a comic strip vamp's a word, who wants to be real. Cool World marked Bakshi's return to feature films after 9 years. The film was originally pitched as an animated horror film about an underground cartoonist whose father, an illegitimate half-human, half-cartoon daughter, who hates herself for what she is and tries to kill him. Chris, we'll start with you. What was your initial thoughts on Cool World?
I saw this movie because Cool World to me has not a really heavy nostalgia goggles for it being like one of the first adult movies I've ever seen. Because my parents thought this was supposed to be like a kids movie, and it was billed as a kids movie, so it was like PG-13. But just it's not. The whole story is insane of like the characters and like the actual true purpose of like the worlds merging, because people thought this would be like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but like, you know, the next level of it, the same concept, but it's totally not. It's like a worse idea of that. And like this is the precursor to like Space Jam, where we integrated like humans and cartoons, but it's like all done terribly.
Caroline, what was your initial thoughts of Cool World?
Well, first off, I just want to say that for some reason, this movie was so popular in Brazil when I was growing up. I remember that it would play on, like, open TV channel, like, right after lunch, like, when all the kids were getting home. So I remember watching it when I was really young, and I was just, like, confused. I don't dislike it. I mean, I love Gabriel Byrne a lot, and there's some dirtiness, about Cool World, the actual place in the movie Cool World, that I liked a lot. It's all right.
Sam,
it's not amazing.
What were your initial thoughts on the initial thoughts these two just had?
Yeah, for you guys listening, I didn't see this movie. It's one of the ones I did not catch on the list. But just as someone who hasn't watched it, so just like you guys, if you haven't watched it and you're listening to the podcast, I don't know about this movie. It came out after Who Framed Roger Rabbit, so I feel like it's just discount Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I'd rather just watch that movie.
Oh, yeah, you're better off.
Yeah. Like, I like the idea that it was pitched as a horror movie, but it's not a horror movie, so is it basically just, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, basically? Like, it's just real world, cartoon world mixed, and it mixes further.
Dace, you want me to take this on explaining like how insane the plot is?
Actually, I have not seen this movie either, so I'll let you explain how crazy this plot is. I vaguely remember the cartoon part of it. Like, I think I browsed past it on the TV, but go for it.
Okay, so the idea of Cool World is like another universe that like exists and just like parallel to the human world. Mm-hmm. And someone in the cartoon world opened up a portal to like visit the human world and like grab Brad Pitt from 1945 and puts him in charge of the cartoon world while this like professor guy goes to the human world to just explore. Like,
what was he, a cartoon in the real world, or did he become real?
No, he becomes a cartoon, walk around the real world, but he grabs Brad Pitt, who's a human, into the cartoon world. Like, they switch places. So, like, Brad Pitt's a human in the cartoon world. And then, like, 50 years later, like, this guy gets out of jail. That's Gabriel Bryan's role. He's a cartoonist who, like, for the past few years, like, has been drawing these, like, cartoons and sketches, and he, like, has been taking, like, what he thinks is his world, his creation is like Hollywood, this character and like her world. But in truth, it's actually like Holly has been like visiting him in his dreams and like influencing his cartoons over these years. So he believes he created Cool World, but in actuality, like Cool World already exists before him.
What was her purpose in doing that?
She wanted to cross over into the human world.
Yeah,
but, like,
she wanted to become real.
She like wanted to bend reality and become a humanoid. But in order for her to become a humanoid, now here's the part where like kids won't get this. And this is where like everyone kind of like smacks them everyone goes like, holy God, this is the point. The point of the movie was to like Holly has to have sex with a human to become human. Like she's a cartoon. And they're forbidden to, like, actually have sex with human people. So it's like, when you do, you become human. like no, they don't explain why. That's just that happens. So not to spoil much, but she ends up banging like the cartoonist, and she actually does become human and travels to the human world. But then it starts merging the two worlds together, and it's like You guys saw Super Mario Brothers, right?
It's amazing.
Yeah. How like the worlds were merging. That basically happens, but instead of like a meteor, it's because someone had sex.
So instead of just wanting the D, she wanted the 2D. That's my contribution to this section.
No, that was good. But like, it's already an insane plot. They just added in like the sexual tension because it's like, yeah, it's edgy, but it makes no sense. And then you have all this talent that honestly like should not have jobs after in this movie. You know, like this movie was a colossal failure. This movie made like no money. It made barely half its money back, but that's over years of like it being in the foreign market or like it being advertised as a joke.
We still talking about Cool World, or are we talking about Fantastic Four?
Well, this movie caused a lot of controversy. I think Dace will talk about, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, did they actually show the sex scene, or was it just implied?
It's kind. I mean,
they kind of show it, but it's not like graphic.
She's like, it's very sensual, you know, and it's and she's a very like Jessica Rabbit, but blonde and a little bit more realistic looking, like her face.
She's like a Tex Avery cartoon. Like a very sexy, everything's sexy. Like super sexy Tex Avery cartoon, which is like, again, that was okay back then, like to show like very exaggerated figures that honestly would give like a lot of, it was like, you know, the man's idea of like what sexy like women are in cartoons. And it plays well to like the story because it has a purpose, because she's drawn like that to like actually seduce a human.
Mm-hmm.
So like that I get. But the rest of it is like insane. Like the rest of the whole story, her whole gang, the world, it's like they don't explain it because it's impossible to explain to make any sense.
I don't think Sam would be into it. I think that he would rather be with Lola Bunny.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, like if you grew up Lola Bunny, like you're not gonna get used to this. Like you just like that for
once you have Jessica Rabbit, you don't go for Holly.
Yeah.
Some interesting notes about the cast itself for this movie. Kim Basinger played Hollywood. Brad Pitt is Detective Frank Harris. Gabriel Byrne is Jack Deebs. Frank Sinatra Jr. is in it as well.
Now I have to see it.
Right? And there's a couple of characters that I thought was pretty funny, like Craps Bunny. I'm just reading through some of the cartoon character names they had here. When it comes to the casting, what do you think of Brad Pitt being in this movie? We'll start with you, Caroline.
He's a weird character. I mean, I don't know. I don't really like him in it. And then that's my dog snoring, if you guys caught that. I mean, he's all right. I don't know. I felt like somebody else would play better. I guess because he's like the detective in it, it's hard not to compare with Who Framed Roger Rabbit and that idea of being a detective. And he's just kind of like the police, like the cop in it, and he's like reinforcing the rules that no cartoons should have sex with humans. And that's kind of like pretty much what he does. And he tries to maintain the world the way it is, but the only threat really is Holly, and she's trying to have sex with this guy. So he's just like constantly being, you know.
So wait, is the cartoon world and the human world, like, are their times in sync?
No. You're like in this alternate realm. They're just like time stops for you, basically.
Because you said it was like 50 years.
Yeah.
So
and
what time
the other
stops?
thing too, like there's one point in the movie where Brad Pitt goes back to the real world. He's still the way he is. Like, he doesn't age or anything.
Well, I mean, he didn't age, but, like, was it like, okay, he didn't age or anything, but was he in the cartoon world for 50 years?
Yeah.
Yes.
Or was he there for, like, he thinks it was like a week, and it turns out to be like...
No, I think he was there for a while, yeah.
Time, it's a cartoon, so it's like, it's supposed to be like time is suspended. Like, time is that moment.
Yeah.
Okay, so then how did the girl Holly not just bang him?
Because
he's
he
been
doesn't
trying.
like her, and he
For
has
50
like he has like a girlfriend who is also a cartoon, but he
can't
can
bang.
but he doesn't really like Holly. Like
Yeah.
she tries to come for him in various times, and he pretty much just shoves her aside. Like he really doesn't like her.
Well, good for him. At least he has a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the whole sexual tension thing between them is like, I guess for 50 years they've been trying it, and then he's, that's why they don't like each other. Because, yeah, like I said, 50 years, Holly's been trying to bang Brad Pitt.
What girl hasn't been trying to bang Brad Pitt?
Yeah. I'll pass.
I heard he doesn't use deodorant, so.
Ugh.
Yeah, I keep hearing that he doesn't smell good, and that to me is like, ugh.
That's why Angelina Jolie adopts.
Well, you have to also remember, this is like 92. Brad Pitt is like up and coming at this point.
Yeah, he's...
Well, obviously, because he did this movie.
Yeah, like, this really could have killed his career, like, out the door.
If this was today, it probably would have killed his career.
Yeah.
So, Chris, you mentioned earlier in the podcast, or in this portion of the podcast, the controversy. Do you want to elaborate a little bit on that and tell what the...
So, when they were promoting this movie, they were trying to do, like, a whole bunch of, like, marketing stunts to kind of get attention. That it's like, yeah, it's good. It's an adult-themed kids movie. Which, again, like, everyone who was marketing this movie was coming from different perspectives. Where, if you see in the notes in the Wikipedia, like, Kim Basinger was trying to make, like, a family-friendly movie so she could show this movie to kids in hospitals. That's actually a quote.
Oh, no.
She quoted that. She was like, yeah, I want this to be one day, like, to show, like, the kids. And it's like, holy shit. Really? Okay. Ralph Bakshi, he was like, no, I make dirty movies. Like, this is my thing. It's alternate, like, adult humor. So he was all about, like, it being graphic. Then, like, someone in Paramount was like, yeah, we got this young kid named, like, Brad Pitt. Let's put him in. What's he gonna do? I don't know. Let's make Roger Rabbit, basically. And then, like, got unlicensed like, art. Because all, like, the character art in the background is all, like, weird, kind of, like, Tex Avery background, like, 50s cartoons and stuff like that. So they were just making, like, halfway through, they basically knew they weren't making any money. So why spend real money to get, like, licensed material? Let's just get, like, garbage. So, like, everything that, like, surrounding the development was terrible. Then, when the movie was, like, halfway done, they decided, let's put like a real life scale of Hollywood on the Hollywood sign. And it's like, they didn't really ask a lot of people. They just did it. So they built a giant, like, I don't know, like 20-foot blonde in a Marilyn Monroe, like, skirt and placed it by the H on the Hollywood sign.
Oh my God.
And, like, all the people in the valley, like, looked up and went, uh-oh, like, that ain't right. So a bunch of people were, like, stirring up controversy because, again, Hollywood, if you see a picture of her, is, like, a very sexualized character. It's Jessica Rabbit, basically, but, like, proportionate. So, like, you can't, like, how do you put that up? Like, you can't do that today. Like, you can't get permits to do ever that again. But, because, like, again, it just, you place this, like, figure on a Hollywood sign, an iconic thing, with this, like, slutty character. And so, like, everyone in Hollywood who was not with this movie totally complained.
Wow. That's so crazy.
Yeah, like, I forgot that happened. It's just like, oh yeah, they placed it there. But it was like such a rush job. Like, I guess they built it somewhere else and, like, craned it up there really fast. And then they just, like, placed it there. Like, what the hell? And it was just staring down in Hollywood. This like, slutty figure. And it's like, it didn't have a title. It didn't say Cool World. It just had Holly. Like, just a character no one knew of yet.
Interesting.
Smooth. Caroline, we'll start with you. What are your final thoughts, high point, low point, and a ranking 1 to 10?
Okay. Well, I would say high point is that I still feel that in the right hands and with the right money and the right everything, the concept would be interesting. You know, the idea of having this cartoon world that it's not friendly, that it's not nice, that it's just, like, dirty and gross and has all these, like, kind of, like, disgusting looking characters. That could work if it was done right. Low points, I would say everything else. Like, I I don't know. I just feel like there is a lot of potential there that it wasn't tapped in. Still don't know why this movie was so popular in Brazil. I guess because Holly was hot. And I guess if I had to grade it, I would say maybe like a 4 or a 3, something like that.
Chris, what were your final thoughts, high point, low point, and ranking 1 to 10?
My final thoughts of this movie was like, again, not every movie with live action characters and cartoons can work, and this is like a early milestone in that, where it's like, yeah, like we'll have adult themes but kiddie kind of like concepts, like that doesn't work. Especially this, it's like you go all the way. The high points for me is like, I guess when basically Holly is Kim Basinger, and she's singing with Frank Sinatra Jr. at this club, and to her, it's normal just to get up and sing in a ballroom. But in reality, people are like, no, this should be crazy. But in that one-time scenario, people are fine with it, which it's funny because it's like a cartoon come to life, right? Then the low points for me is when Brad Pitt and his girlfriend are arguing about sex, because she keeps bringing up how sexually frustrated he's been for over 50 years since he's been here. And it's he's been for 50 years, let's say, right? And it's he couldn't have sex for 50 years, but he has a girlfriend who is sexually frustrated. She is just you don't
She
kiss
wants
me.
to bang.
She wants to bang. Yeah, she wants this whole thing, but it's what are the rules for sex in this thing? Penetration? Right. Is it a hand job? They don't dare to explain it because again, they want to keep it a PG-13, 92 PG-13, and it's you can't talk about that concept and not be graphic and funny about it. And then it tries to be very oh, that's why I'm so moody because I can't have sex. But it's you're explaining. I'm not going to learn a sex education through this movie when I'm 4. This is crazy.
I wonder if anal counts.
Yeah, that would make sense now. You ask that question now when you watch the movie, but back then if you're watching this as a kid, you would have no idea. But you watch it as a parent, I'm Jesus, what did I bring my kid to?
Yeah, exactly. I'm still kind of odd that it was PG-13 movie. It doesn't really feel like it.
Oh, it shouldn't. But that's the thing. If it became an R, this movie would have been 10 times better.
Right. Yeah.
Or if it became worse. Or yeah, it could have been so worse. Imagine all this plus really graphic cartoon sex on humans. I don't want to see that either.
Oh, I wouldn't see that. That'd be cool. Am I alone? Sam, am I alone in this?
Okay, maybe Holly and the girlfriend character. Everything else is a freak show of art. So I can imagine those things being naked. It's not great.
Well, there you have it, folks. Cool World is in the books. So make sure you jump over to part 4 of the 4 Reel Movie Club as we talk about the comedic classic Office Space.
Woo!
Welcome back to the 4th part of the 4 Reel Movie Club here in August as we go through a grab bag full of staff picks when it comes to our films this month. The next film on our plate is Office Space, which is a 1999 American comedy film written and directed by Mike Judge. The film satires the everyday work life of a typical mid to late 1990s software company, focusing on a handful of individuals that are fed up with their jobs. We'll start with you, Sam, on this one. What were your initial thoughts on the movie Office Space?
Oh my, I love Office Space. This is just a fucking classic of a movie. And I mean, Mike Judge, in the 90s, was amazing when it came to, comedy and stuff. I mean, I love, King of the Hill, Beavis and Butthead. He was on a high point. And this movie it didn't hit records, I don't believe. I don't think it was, box office financially a hit. But it's become, a cult classic film.
Chris, what were your first thoughts on Office Space?
I didn't appreciate the humor until I grew up when I first watched it. Until I actually knew, the mundane routines and how insane people can get, by just going to work in an office all the time. So, that's that. I don't know. I feel like Mike Judge movies are like that with me, where every time I don't get them initially the first time, but then the second time I watch it, a few years later, it clicks with me better. again, like now I get it. Now it's like a classic staple. Because I remember like seeing the trailer and everything when I was a kid, going like, I don't want to watch this. But then, it being on TV or people recommending it, it just grows like a culture with it.
Caroline,
so,
what were you... Sorry.
That's right. I like it now. Like it's a good comedy.
Caroline, what were your initial thoughts on Office Space?
Well, I'm not a big comedy person, but I do like this movie. Just like Chris just said, I mean, you don't really get it if you're young and you watch it, but as you grow older, like little things, like even in the beginning of the movie, like the traffic jam, like he has switched lanes thinking that, oh, this lane's going fast, and it stops. And then it's little things like that. It's just so dead on. It's like something that everybody could just see themselves in it. And I mean, that movie just, when I watch it, I just want to get a red stapler. So I appreciate that movie.
So some of the casting leads to Ron Livingston as Peter Gibbons, the main character, Jennifer Aniston as Joanna, Stephen Root as the iconic Milton Wadhams, Gary Cole as Bill Lumberg, David Herman as Michael Bolton, Ajay Naidu as Samir Nahinajad. Yeah, I said it. John C. McGinley as Bob Slidell, who's my hero for other reasons. And just a list of other, like, in-between characters as well. Sam, we'll start with you. What were your thoughts on the casting for Office Space?
I mean, none of them, like, with the exception of, Peter, like, I can't think of them in too many other movies. Like, it's not that they didn't have careers after this. It's just, I can't, like, think of, like, oh yeah, like, that's the dude who played Lawrence.
Yeah, but nobody knows that Jennifer Aniston woman.
Or Dr.
Well, besides that. But, like... But, like, now, like when I saw The Conjuring, I'm like, dude, that's the guy from Office Space. Like, it's just, like, this movie, like, is now how I think of some of these people. As far as the casting goes, like, my favorite character in this whole thing has gotta be Lawrence. Whenever he's on screen, I just fucking love it. And, like, I still will, like, if I can find a way to squeeze it into a conversation, I'll still go, like, no, man. No, shit, man. You get your ass beat for saying something like that.
Chris, what were your thoughts on the casting for Office Space?
I like that this movie doesn't feel like a Jennifer Aniston vehicle, even though like some people remember it just for Jennifer Aniston. Again, the character that Gary Cole plays is like now like a universally like funny character. Like he just like you could see like people in fandom like talk about him, like mimic his tone, his voice. Like that one character was pretty awesome. And it's supposed to, like, he's supposed to be the main antagonist, but it's just funny how like the popularity of him has taken off. This movie did help a lot of their careers, though. Though not everyone walked away like famous for it. You know, like it took a while. Like now, you could see their career like steadily. Like you could, like Sam said, you recognize them from that. But when that movie came out, the first 2 years, like I don't think you saw many people like in other movies after that.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, Jennifer Aniston was already known at this point for Friends. But, like, not too many others.
Right,
Gary Cole was, but...
Caroline, what were your thoughts on the casting?
I mean, I love... My favorite thing about casting is the guy that plays Milton. Sorry, I'm blinking on everybody's names. I suck at remembering names. Unless if you're a dog. It was good. I mean, I would say the only one that I could just like do without or have somebody else play, it was like Jennifer Aniston. Like, I mean, yeah, she's cute, but I feel like she was just there for like to be cute. But yeah, everybody else is nice. Like, I like that they picked a guy to play Peter that is not. I mean, he's charming, but he's not gorgeous. You can still like kind of see, oh, that's like the guy that works like on the next cubicle.
He's average. He's a perfect like average dude.
Exactly, and I think that's really great. Like I I mean, I guess today there's a lot of comedians that could, still do that and be okay, but
I feel like the dude from Hangover, if they remade this movie, would probably end up playing him.
I think Louis C.K. would be phenomenal in that role.
You have to have somebody that just looks like oh god. Sorry, crazy things happening in my street.
Was that Basketball Jones?
Maybe.
Do you live on NASCAR?
I actually do. It's one side is NASCAR, the other side's Sidebar, and the other side's a crackhead place. Yeah. What was I saying?
Yeah.
So yes,
totally have a crush on Jennifer Aniston.
Oh yeah, I love her too. Yeah. So I appreciate that. I don't think it would be as effective, even if he was still really funny, if he was a really good-looking guy. So I feel like casting did a good job on that movie.
Some facts about the movie: the music was done by John Frizzle, cinematography by Tim Sturz, edited by Dave Rennie, and distributed by 20th Century Fox. The release date for the film was February 19th, 1999, so it was a great Valentine's Day movie if you wanted to go check it out. With a runtime of 89 minutes, a budget of $10 million, and a box office of 12.8. So not really a great box office success like it was mentioned earlier. However, it has received a cult status, selling very well on home video and DVD. As of 2003, it had sold 2.6 million copies on VHS. For those of you that are young, that's what we had before DVDs, which is before Blu-ray. In the same year, it was the top 20 best-selling Fox DVDs, along with There's Something About Mary.
Wow.
So I'm going to ask you guys, the panel, Chris, what do you think it takes to become a cult classic? Why did this not do well at the movie theaters, but it bit well when it got to sales for DVDs and videos?
I'm going to say, a lot of people who actually work in offices didn't want to see a comedy that takes place in an office. Yet, that market wasn't ready, because I know, the Office TV show, not relatable to this, I know, works now, but back then in 93, no, what was it, 99, I guess some people just weren't, ready to face the funny realities of the routines of, the mundane routines in an office. So I'm gonna say, it grew better in box office, because someone saw it and recommended it, how funny it was, and all these, little tidbits about everyday life in an office is actually crazy.
Sam,
I agree. Yeah.
Well, Caroline, we'll start with you. Screw Sam. Why do you think it became a cult classic and did better on sales for DVDs and VHS than it did the box office?
So I'm gonna go now.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, you guys. I didn't want to interrupt Sam. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You didn't interrupt, so you were silent when it was time for you to talk.
Because I said I agree with Chris, and it was your turn to speak, so I shut up.
Caroline, you can go.
I was talking to Tony.
Well, Frank says.
No, I just agree with Chris. I feel like maybe in the 90s there was still this idea that people just wanted to go to the movies and kind of forget about mundane life, and a movie entitled Office Space maybe didn't really appeal to people. But then once people got more familiar with what the movie was about, they were able to connect in a way. And I feel like with all cult movies, there is something about you being able to connect to it in ways you see yourself in those situations. And those situations, they don't have an expiration date on them. They're always going to be, part of people's lives. So, yes, I agree with Chris. Now, go ahead, Sam. Sorry I exist.
I accept your apology for that.
For existing? Damn, you're harsh.
I think the reason why this movie did better later on was, like they said, these are themes that are maybe not completely timeless, but they're, we can still relate to them today. But I think why it maybe wasn't a success back then is when I first watched it, I understood that this was the kind of movie that maybe you can't really appreciate when you first watch it. You maybe have to watch it again and again, and then you start to, you love it for what it is rather than, just a film, if you know what I mean. So, watching it, 5 years later,
You're like, you know what? That was actually really funny. Like, maybe I didn't like it when I saw it in theaters. And then, like, 10 years later, you're like, damn, I remember that movie. I want to go watch that again. And then just down the line, it becomes, like, something that everybody loves. Word of mouth, it carries legs. The DVD sales increase.
I have the answer for this.
Go ahead.
Quotes. There's one thing about
that's
cult movies that is standard, and it's that they are quotable. And it doesn't matter if it's a good movie or it's a bad movie. There's things that are going to be quoted from it. You take a movie like The Departed, wins Best Picture, like all this other kind of stuff like that. I think it won Best Picture that year. Can anybody really name any quotes from it? But at the same time, you take a movie like this, and people are going to go, PC low letter, what the fuck does that mean? Or it's a jump to conclusions, Matt. Or not going to work here anymore. Like, there's so many different things that are quotable about this. And I think this is one of those things where people, you know, you watch it, you find the quotes funny, you tell a friend, like, yeah, oh, that joke was about, you know, this thing from Office Space. And then it's like, well, what's Office Space? Oh, shit, it's this really fucking fun movie, and etc.
Well, there you have it. End of the debate.
So yeah, Dace. If you could move on to the next topic, that'd be great.
Well, we can all edit that part out in post, so it's all good. High point, low point, ranking 1 to 10. Caroline, we'll start with you on the movie Office Space.
I'll give it a 7, which I feel like it's the highest I can give to a comedy because it's just not my thing. Highest point, Milton, the stapler. I love that guy. Like, I would marry him. He's so adorable with a little, he's so cute. Low point, Jennifer Aniston. Sorry, girl.
Chris, what was your high point, low point, and ranking 1 to 10 on the movie Office Space?
My high point, I think, is when they go to lunch and they're talking about the flare at the TGIF. And, like, that's pretty funny because that's, like, for me, like, most awkward is, like, going to restaurants more than dealing with offices, like, just dealing with, like, the host that, or, like, the waiter that's, like, way too into his job. The low point for me is I guess, like, kind of the end where they don't get their, like, money. I don't know, I feel bad. Like, it's funny that way, right? It's more tragically funny. But honestly, like, you know, like, I didn't mind them, like, if they actually got something that wasn't, like, Pete's working, he went from a computer job to just, like, construction. That's kind of like, holy shit, the market shift was so violent there that he, like, lost a career job to do, like, going outside and picking up roadkill and things like that. Which I guess he was happy for, which was, like, the better message, but I felt like that was, like, ooh, that's too deep for me. Where it's just like, oh, yeah, that's like a career shift where it's like, oh, no office skills. Go outside, pick up a shovel.
Yeah, I can see that.
And was your ranking 1 to 10?
Oh, like a 7. Again, it's not the best comedy of all time, but it's great for, like, this generation. Like, I guess, you know, like, oh, it's still, like, a great movie to throw on and, like, what Tony said, to quote and just, like, relive some scenes. But it's definitely not like a must see for everyone.
Sam, what was your high point, low point, and ranking 1 to 10 on the movie Office Space?
I'm kind of with Carolyn. I wasn't a big fan of Jennifer Aniston, the whole love story angle of it. I was just more interested in just, like, watching this guy interact with his friends and, like, bitching about his job. The high point is the fucking, when they all get together. I can never remember if it's, like, a fax machine, if it's a printer scanner, like, just whatever, like, they're always breaking down and they, like, get it and they start playing that rap song and they just bust the shit out of it. That, to me, is just, that is gold for me in this movie. And, out of 10, I give Space Jam an 8.5. I'm gonna give this movie an 8.
I'm very disappointed nobody said that their high point was the best line in the movie, which is, "Hi, Bob. Bob? I love that part. That's so fucking great." You're all terrible people for not loving that as much.
Well, there you have it, folks. Office Space in the books, and we're going to move on to a bonus part. Yeah, you heard it, folks. We're doing a 5th part on a 4 Reel Movie Club. Yeah, it doesn't make sense, but who the fuck cares? Moving on to the 5th film here on the 4 Reel Movie Club, Dark Skies. Click the link below. Bam. Welcome back to the 5th part. Yeah, you heard it right. The 5th part of the 4 Reel Movie Club, where we'll be talking about Dark Skies, which is a 2013 American science fiction horror film. Written and directed by Scott Stewart and produced by Jason Blum, starring Kerry Russell, Josh Hamilton, Dakota Goyo, and J.K. Simmons. Initial thoughts, we'll start with you, Caroline.
Horror movie! Woo! I really like this movie. I went to the theater to watch it, and I wasn't expecting a whole lot, but I liked it a lot. I know it has aliens. If you kind of go into the movie not really knowing what it's about, which was my case, at first I wasn't really sure if it was like more like a supernatural kind of thing instead of just aliens or whatnot. It has like 2 really cute little boys in it. It also kind of has like a little coming of age story to it, which I found it was really refreshing. It's not all scary, disturbing stuff. And it plays with like childhood fears as well, and fears you might have when you're a parent and you're trying to make your family work. So I really like this movie.
Sam, what were your initial thoughts on Dark Skies?
I love alien movies, and this one, it has its issues, but this is one of my favorite alien movies. There are things that could have been better about it. I personally think the end kind of fell apart a little bit, but that seems to be a trend with horror movies, is like they tend to be really good up until the very end of it. But I was very impressed with it. I loved how they tried to change up just a little bit from the whole alien thing, where it wasn't like invasion kind of a thing. Like J.K. Simmons, awesome part in the movie, and he says like, oh well, hey, the invasion already happened, they're fucking here, so you're just gonna have to deal with this shit.
Yeah. So
it's basically like, it's the you're fucked moment of the movie. Is like, look, you're done. So I love that. I definitely recommend this movie to anybody who loves scary movies, horror movies, sci-fi movies, anything.
Chris, what were your initial thoughts on Dark Skies?
I thought it was kind of like, when I first saw the trailer, I remember thinking this was horror movie by the numbers, where you have to introduce like all the family and their quirks that have nothing to do with like the aliens, and their problems. And it just happens to be like this like struggling family with like another burden of like an alien problem. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. Only because J.K. Simmons shows up and he's actually like the like expert in the field. So when he like describes like, oh, when they come for you, you'll know. Anyway, like, bye. That like, I was just like, all right, well, it's a full cast full of like, known people. I give it a shot. It's not my favorite horror like alien thing, because the aliens don't really show up. So it's just more like them being dicks with his family.
But don't you think that's a plus, though? Like, don't you think that sometimes when you see too much in horror movies, it kind of just loses its...
To me, it was like the Jaws effect. Like, when you finally see them and, like... Yeah.
Right, but again, then at the end, they just kind of, like... They just disappear. That part was just like, oh, the payoff. It's the payoff. I think that, for me, was the disappointing thing about it. Like, it's suspenseful. Yeah. It's very suspenseful.
And that's why I thought the end fell apart a little for me.
So that's for me, like, it's still, but I don't know, it still has to justify the whole movie. For me, like, I kind of don't like it so much. This isn't my favorite, like, alien, fuck around family movie.
So we talked a little bit about the casting. Kerry Russell plays Lacey Barrett. Josh Hamilton plays Daniel Barrett. Dakota Goya plays Jesse. Caden Rocket plays Sam. And then you guys said J.K. Simmons is Edwin Pollard, who's kind of the know-all that comes and just tells everything. What did you guys think on the casting itself? We'll start with you, Caroline.
I like it. I mean, I like the children a lot. I think that... sometimes, like, I love horror movies when they have kids, but sometimes they can be, like, a very decisive factor. If you don't have really good child actors, which, it's not uncommon, it kind of just, like, loses its thing, and I like it a lot. I I like what they did. I like the kids they picked. The little boy just steals my heart every time I see the youngest one. I like the parents. Oh man, like the alien expert to me just like kills it. I like it, and I kind of like even more that they picked Carrie Russell to play the mom and not some like really really big. I mean, she's famous, but like not a super like major star. And she still plays a character that is very different from whatever the character that she played on like a TV show that was really popular. I forget the name.
Felicity.
Yeah, Felicity. So yeah, I like it. I don't think I have any like major complaints about casting.
Chris, what were your thoughts on the casting?
Once I saw Felicity was a house mom, I felt old. And then just to be like, oh, this is a, you know, this felt like you know that the father and the mother characters actually do an equal part of like getting their lives shit on by aliens, and like they're trying to prevent the aliens from taking them. That was kind of nice because the trailer made it honestly seem like Carrie Russell was gonna like fight an alien or something.
Right.
She was like, I thought she was gonna be like the main star, but it's actually just it's the family, and it's a good balance. But like you said with kid actors, they're kind of an important part too. Where if they're not like acting appropriately, the movie kind of falls apart upon them because they're like not really into it, or it's like not believable when they're screaming and running and acting annoying.
Sam, what were your thoughts on the casting?
Well, actually, just bouncing off of what Chris said there about how the trailers kind of set up that she was going to like fight an alien. I was actually really disappointed. There's a scene in the trailers that was not in this movie where you see her and like she looked scared. Like I think maybe she had a knife in her hand or like she was just like ready to like attack something. And then the camera kind of just turns a little bit and you see one of the aliens like 6 feet behind her. And that scene's not in the movie, and I wished it had been. As far as casting in the movie goes, I thought the weakest link was the youngest child, the one who played Sammy.
He's so cute.
It's just, I mean, I'll just say, I'll repeat it just when it's time, but I'll just say it right now. My least favorite part is when he's in the park with his dad, and he's just staring, and he starts screaming. Like, for some reason, I thought that was so stupid, and it was unnecessary, and it was bad acting on kind of just everybody's part right there.
Aww. Poor little guy.
But my favorite casting, by far, J.K. Simmons. Because
Yes.
when you have an alien film, and you have an expert within that film, there's one of two ways you can go. The one way is the dude from Independence Day, where he's just like, this is fucking cool, isn't it? Like, there's this kind of alien, and this kind of alien, and this kind of alien. Or you can have what J.K. Simmons was, and I loved this, because I rarely ever see this in film. He was just a defeated man. He's just a guy who had to deal with this. He learned to accept it, which is terrifying in and of itself to me. And, like, when he's like, yeah, man, like, dogs, like, they just lose their shit. So, like, I have a bunch of cats. They don't seem to care about them. So it's like he's rearranged his life and has just accepted that this is reality, not gonna get rid of it, and, hey, maybe I can give some advice to other people. And when he talks about how, like, the implant, and then they show with the dad what's been causing his infection, talking about how it, like, burrows in deeper when you try to cut it out, talking like, look, man, like, make it difficult for them. Because they're not going to want to fight you on this. So just give them hell, and they might move on if you're lucky. I thought it was a little weak, though, the M. Night Shyamalan plot twist. With like, oh my god, it wasn't the youngest, it was the first child. Ah. I thought that was a little stupid. But, yeah, that's just my thoughts on the casting.
Well, they are coming back for the young boy, though, right? Because isn't one of the things like they start drawing things, and I mean we learn later on that the older boy used to do that, so now they're coming for him. But then maybe in the future they're gonna come back for the little boy.
Yeah, that didn't make any sense to me anyway, because like the whole point of like the movie is that they say like they come for the one they first came in contact with, but then they make it seem like it's been like 5 years maybe that they've been doing this. Because like the kids seem to be about 5 years apart, and I'm assuming the oldest was the youngest's age when this started. But like for some reason it's been 5 years and only now it kind of has started. And it's like the youngest boy shows all the signs. The mom sees the alien in Sammy's room, and he's talking about it. But then that's why I called it an M. Night Shyamalan plot twist, because it didn't make any fucking sense. That they're like, oh wait, but the oldest boy did it when he was younger, and that's why he got taken. It's like, well then they're fucking aliens. Why don't they just take both kids?
Why are there rules?
Right.
That's why I was like, what? Like, this whole structure of like, oh no, they have a specific plot to dick around with them. And then at the end, it's like, no, we just want one. Like, thank you, and just leave.
Well, yeah, I did actually think that was a little funny, though. Because, like, I'm in a science field. I'm going into graduate school for science. So as a scientist, which is, they always say what aliens are. They're scientists in their own right. We're kind of dicks. Like, every scientist I know is a douche in some regard. And I gotta tell you, man, like, if I was an alien going to another planet and I'm gonna, like, experiment on people, I'd probably fuck around with them a little bit. Like, they were like, why did they ruin our fridge? Just because they could.
Right, yeah.
It's like, why did the alarm systems go off? They knew it would scare you. Like, I just thought that was funny. Like, it didn't take away from the movie for me personally. I just thought it was cool.
Some fun facts about the film. It was directed by Scott Stewart as well as the screenplay, and produced by Jason Blum, Cooper Samuelson, Jeanette Brill, and the music was by Joseph Bishara. Cinematography was done by David Boyd, edited by Peter Vodas, and distributed by Dimension Films. The release date was February 22nd, 2013 in the United States with a runtime of 97 minutes. The budget was only $3.5 million, and the box office was $26.4. All those fun facts put into perspective, everything we've talked about here in this film. Sam, we'll start with you. Final thoughts and high point, low point, and ranking 1 to 10.
My final thoughts on this movie are it's one of my favorite, not definitively, but it's one of my favorite movies that deal with the Greys. Like, I can't say favorite alien movie after thinking about it because I love Alien and Aliens so much, and like Predator, and like the more I thought about it, there are movies that deal with aliens that I love way more than this movie. But when it just comes to the Greys being like the big-headed, big black eye kind of aliens, this is definitely up there. There are creepy moments in this movie, one of which most people I talked to who've seen this movie didn't realize. When the oldest Jesse is riding his bike down that street at night, and he like feels like there's someone watching him, and like the street lights start going out. If you watch in that scene, in the background when he stops riding his bike and he's looking around, you can see in the distance one of the aliens kind of moving down the sidewalk. It's really fucking creepy. Falls apart at the end, like I said. The whole reason why they take Jesse and not Sammy doesn't really make sense to me. And J.K. Simmons steals the show in one scene for me. So, high point has gotta be the J.K. Simmons moment. And just like all the creepy shit that happens with the family. Low point for me is when Sammy just screams. Like, I get it. Like, I know why they did it. I see what they were going for. And like, I don't know. Like, I also thought it was a little dumb when the dad walked outside and when his wife goes out, like, he's just like, got his mouth gaping open and then just blood starts shooting out of his nose. I thought that was a little ridiculous. But this movie, out of 10, I'd give it a solid 7. Like, if 5 is like, yeah, I liked it, and then thinking like Office Space is something like an 8, this to me is definitely a 7. It's recommendable. I liked it, but I totally get why some people wouldn't like this movie.
Carolyn, what were your thoughts on high point, low point, final thoughts, and a ranking 1 to 10?
I enjoyed this movie a lot. It's actually one of the movies in my personal... I think it's like one of the few Alien movies that I own. I like the take in it. I like that it's around the family and not just like one individual. I appreciate the relationships they have. I like Ratface a lot in the movie. He's such a little douchebag. I love
I love when the dad starts beating the shit out of him.
Yeah, right? I love when he's like, oh, you kissed her? Oh, man, you go downtown? I do that with all my ladies. It's just so funny. Such a little douche. It's a really good movie, and I appreciate that I didn't see the alien, because to me, a lot of the movies, when I get to see the monster right away, I'm just kind of like, okay, great. So, like, all this work that my imagination was doing of what frightens me and how I perceive aliens to be or the monster to be, it was kind of a letdown, which is what I felt when, I watched Signs. Like, oh man, really? So I appreciate that. I don't dislike the ending. I get why Sam didn't like it. I kind of just like that it ended in like an open-ended kind of way. His boy is gone. Probably his family is never going to see him again. But then now what? Is the little one's going to be next? Or are they going to try to, like, somehow, are they going to give up on him? Like, what's going to happen next? So I liked it. I'm going to give it a 8.5. And low points, lots of birds die in it. Not real ones, but yeah, lots of birdies die.
Side note, I think the reason why the family photos were taken is because they were touching themselves to the mother.
Or the dad, you don't know that.
There could have been some ladies there. I didn't see downstairs, I don't know.
Chris, what were your final thoughts, high point, low point, and ranking 1 to 10?
Okay, so my final thoughts is this is like this was a different kind of horror alien movie where the aliens take their sweet time coming out, but they love to mess with his family. High points for me was when, like, the birds start, like, again, this is, like, not everyone agrees, but I like when the birds start smacking into the house, because, like, you can't explain that, besides, like, oh, yeah, like, radio waves, but still, like, what? Like, no, this is a problem. But, like, everyone else ignores it, like, nah, that just happens, like, that's fine.
Yeah, and, like, different birds from different, like, I don't know, flocks flying in the same place. Like, yeah.
It's not just like one type of bird broke this house. No, it's like all the birds in the community decided to flock here. And I don't quite understand how the aliens did it, but they're just like sound waves? Like, like that just like, yeah, aliens have the power to mess with bird patterns. Woo! That was kind of cool. Because that's like different than most like horror movies, most alien movies. So I was like, that's cool. Worst part for me, I think Sam brought it up when the little kid's screaming, but it's funny because he's like playing soccer and then he just pees himself and screams. That's not an alien problem. That's a mental problem. Like, kid has that's like, oh, that kid needs counseling.
And that's why I'm saying, like, it made no sense that the oldest son was the one taken, because, like, the youngest was the one who was getting fucked up by it.
But I guess, like,
but then, like, we don't know if this happened, because remember when the mom says that he used to be really sick all the time? Maybe that's what she was referring to.
Did they forget this happened too? Like, how do you forget this one happened like that? Like, it's...
Listen, if those aliens could make a bunch of birds fly into a house, I'm sure that they could do a lot with your memory.
Probably. Again, like, just a lot of things they didn't explore, but they kept it this way. So it's like, you gotta, like this format. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you have to be a fan of it. I'm not, obviously, because I'm, like, complaining about it, but I appreciate the effort. I just was like, yeah, Dark Skies, it's another movie in the bin for me. I give it, like, a 5 out of 10. Like, it could be better, but it wasn't, like, it didn't hit absolute bottom for me, where basically the alien comes out and, like, they're having a knife fight in the kitchen. So, that would have ruined it, too.
It just reminds me of monkey knife fights from The Simpsons.
Hey, pretty no more.
Well, there you have it, folks. Dark Skies in the book, as well as another episode of the For Real Movie Club. Before we depart you on this episode, let's go around the table and see what everybody's got going on. Chris Cheng, we'll start with you. What is up?
Not much, man. Just promoting my convention. I have a video game convention coming up in New Jersey on September 19th. Be there.
There you go. Sam, what do you got going on?
Well, I'm enjoying this delicious chocolate ice cream cone. But you guys can catch me. What?
Plain chocolate?
Yeah, just plain chocolate, soft serve ice cream.
Nice.
Ugh.
Oh, Tony.
So screw all of you. But
no, I'm saying it's nice. I am jealous.
You can catch me on more podcasts for Fanboys Anonymous, and you can, any of you going to New York Comic Con, I will be there, so check us out.
Caroline, what do you got going on?
Well, just like Sunset, check out Fanboys Anonymous. Finally coming back to my writing, which I'm really excited about. Check out my website, which is CZ as in zebra, O as in olive tree, F as in face, X as in X-ray, because Tony keeps calling me on it, .com. Tony keeps calling me on it. It's not part of the website. So it's ZOFX.com.
T as in...
Stop it! You're gonna start confusing me. I suck at spelling. Like, let me be. And check out my Instagram. I'm gonna be posting some really cool upcoming projects soon, hopefully by tomorrow, which is creepy_Caroline.
And lots of things about her dog.
Yeah, see my dog. She's really cute, so you guys can all see. And I have like videos of her humping her Goras, which are really entertaining for me.
It's like dog porn.
Yeah, it's cute.
And how about the creature in the shadows? What do you got to plug?
Is that me?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm the creature that's not in the shadows anymore.
Oh, he's in the light.
It's the creature that sleeps.
Everybody already plugged fanboysanonymous.com. Obviously, go ahead and check out whatever else I end up posting. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode without me, because it's been a while. And, you know, I'm sure you're sick and tired of my voice. But if you're not sick and tired of my voice, then holy shit, you can listen to a whole lot of other podcasts, because I don't stop working. And if you are into just the Fanboys Anonymous cut side of things, then you can check out the review points and the group meetings that are going to be coming up. I don't know exactly when we're going to do the different stuff, but I know that our group meeting that's coming up is going to be about the TV season that's going to be happening for 2015-2016. And our next review point, maybe it'll be Man from U.N.C.L.E., maybe it'll be, I don't know, Spectre if it's a while from now. Whatever the case may be, though, that's always going to be on fanboysanonymous.com. And if you are onto the wrestling side of things, you can go to smarkoutmoment.com, check out the Smack Talk podcast, and everything else like that.
Well, there you have it, folks. 4 Real Movie Club in the books. Thank you, everybody who was on the panel tonight. Thank you, everybody who's listening out there in YouTube world. And remember, keep on watching movies. That was stupid, but keep watching.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
I'm too old for this.
Good day, sir!
You stay classy, San Diego.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
I'm finished. That'll do, Pete. That'll do. Hasta la vista, baby.
Hey, everybody! We're all gonna get late!
You're still here? It's over. Go home.